time for that.
Hey guys, it's Achon here. Welcome back. Okay, so this is my part 2 Wyvernmancer theme build. In my first video, I quickly laid out the idea, which is to be a cool looking dragon that summons hordes of undead to do its bidding. We utilize the power charges and unearth to raise minions, allowing us to do devastating breath attacks in between. Real quick, this is a fun build that's just now being outfitted for T15 mapping. I like to do theme builds, so if you're looking for something that one-shots pinnacle bosses or clears the screens, then this might not be the video for you. This build has gotten me through most content with very little investment, and with ease through beginning mapping, and frankly has been the most fun class I've played in Path of Exile 2 yet, so yeah. First, to do this, we need to exploit the ability to gain power charges as a Wyvern. This build has seen many iterations since the introduction, but I feel like it's in a good place. So starting off, let's go ahead and bring up the main item here. So to start off, let's talk about Vol's Protector Plated Vestment. This build is revolving around this unique, and is what you want to get as soon as possible. There is another chest unique that gives you power charges at the cost of occasionally being shocked when you get full. But this is going to be your most important part, because this synergizes real well with the Oracle Druid Ascendancy forced outcome, inevitable critical hits. So this is allowing us to always critical hit, thus always proccing this 31% chance to gain a power charge on that critical hit. We are using those power charges to summon zombies left and right and filling the screen. Those zombies and the unearthed minions take the attention off most of the monsters, doing fire damage, burning with Burning Legion, and this lets you do breath attacks that have wind-ups like, you know, like the Flame Breath or the Oil Barrage. Those abilities are really strong, but not really useful when you're mapping, because of that wind up. So this has been a lot of fun utilizing the minions. We're not really worried about the surviving or the reviving ones. They're kind of just here for utility and a little bit of backup. And we have these bog commoners, zombies, because they do a lot of damage when they're on fire with the Burning Legion support gem, and they provide a lot of DPS. So coupled with the oil barrage attacks and everything else, this really shreds bosses down and clears the screens. I have a little bit of a defensive mechanism here I'm going to go into when I talk about the passive tree. But yeah, first of all, just looking at my items real quick, because of a notable that we use in the passive tree, we're able to hold a scepter with our dragon form. What this is doing more or less is just giving us the spirit we need, and the minion count, the minion, the plus level to all the minion skills, and so on and so forth. So like I said, we utilize the skeletons a little bit for some damage and some mana regeneration, but that's about it. We're mainly utilizing temporary minions to cover the screen, and there's a lot of synergies in the path here, as we'll check out. So yeah, mainly with the armor, again, Vol's Protector Plate Vestments. Everything else, we're just kind of building resistances, life, and anything that's going to support our minions, our fire damage, so on and so forth. So there's not really much to talk about with the weapons and items at the moment, other than the unique. So let's go ahead and let's check out the passive tree. So underneath the tree here, we decided to take the Oracle because out of everything that I thought of that could possibly synergize with this build, the forced outcome, inevitable critical hits, is absolutely key, and this is great for damage output and proccing things like cast on critical. I thought about taking this build down elemental route, like summoning meteors, and you absolutely could. with this very well. So, and then down here with the Entwined Realities and the Unseen Path, this opens up some options that kind of feed into this build, but they're not really needed. It's just better than what else the Oracle is providing. But that's what we're doing here. Now, leveling up, let's see, we kind of are taking as much life regeneration. This is going to be our first layer of defense, because we are going to combine all the life regeneration we have with Zealot's Oath. Excess life recovery from regeneration is applied to energy, and energy shield does not recharge. So yeah, that's going to keep us alive quite a bit. We're going to be taking things like regenerate 0.5% life per second while stationary, and 8% damage recouped as life. With those two things together, we have a pretty good defensive layer. There's other nodes up here to talk about. One of the most important nodes to taking this, though, to make it work, and this kind of is up to you if you want to play with this or not, because this is nice if you want that extra spirit or the extra benefits from having a scepter in your offhand. If you are going to have minions on the field, you're supporting your temporary minions more than anything else, because you're taking a 50% spirit hit, and then anything that's like heralds is going to cost 50% more. So it's basically worthless to try to use any kind of heralds with this build. You want to focus on the minions and supporting those minions. But that's what the theme is. We want to be a cool looking dragon that consumes the corpses and then regurgitates his corpses into zombies. That's the kind of theme that was going in my head. I thought was really cool. So yeah, I played around with taking this on and off, and ultimately I like having the support for the minions with the scepter and the extra spirit costs to get the ball commoner out there. So I decided to keep on playing this to stay with that build. You could take this off and maybe go more of an elemental route if you want to utilize some of the heralds, but that's just up to you. And then everything else about the build is kind of trying to get reservation for minions and life, building towards them because they are on fire. That is their main way of doing damage, is by utilizing the Burning Legion support gem. So we have some other defenses, some defense mechanisms while we're stationary, because we are still, when we're doing oil barrage, so it kind of makes us a little tanky. We have a little bit of a weapon swapping because I do use a shield. The shield in my offhand is the Prism Guardian Intricate Crest Shield. I mainly use this for the extra spirit, this in elemental resistance. You can switch this out with a few things, like maybe a focus or something else, but I liked having the extra spirit, again, because I'm trying to have as many ball commoners out as possible. But yeah, you can switch that out with whatever. Heading back to the passive tree here. Just building out some defenses, some other defenses over here will shapeshift. A lot of these other nodes are going to be contribute to medium life. More life that they have, the more damage that they do. So that's kind of what these nodes throughout here are doing. Since we are going the bottom path of the Oracle Tree 2, we are taking things like this because we're not using totems, so this isn't affecting us. But by taking this node, we can select, cherry pick some of the ones that benefit this build, like the Storm Charge. Increased elemental damage every time you critical hit, which we're always critical hitting, so this is a must-have, in my opinion, for this build. And some minion duration, and +2 to limit, so we can have as many of those temporary minions out for as long as possible. We also build a lot of fire resistance too, because even though they do explode and revive, we do want them out doing as much damage as possible while they are available. And some more defensive nodes. Another one's important is the gigantic following. Making the temporary minions gigantic is really nice for this build. Even though they're temporary, that extra health boost that they do really helps them fill up the screen and block off enemies. It's just really nice to have for that extra damage. And then down here, yep, again, taking this one because we're not using plant spells, so this doesn't really affect us, but allows us to cherry pick things without having to connect. Like the minions revive 25% faster. This keeps our ball commoners up as much as possible. So we don't need to build all the way into here when we just need to pop that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the passive skill tree. Next we'll go over the skills, and then we'll go into some gameplay video here. I'll either have that at the beginning or the end of the video. We'll see. The skeleton warriors, let's see, we aren't really doing much. We like to have them explode. Minion mastery, give them as much life as possible. Infernal Legion and Searing Flame. They're just kind of extra damage. I use their corpses to unearth when there's nothing else around, so it's just kind of nice to have them. They're just nice to have as an extra wall between you and the monsters. And yeah, I have them both switched out. Let's see, Rend. I try not to use Rend as I do when things are getting a little close. I'm just kind of cleaving through things, but I don't want to be too close in this build. So Rend, I keep rapid attacks, close combat, living lightning, and rage. I use it to build the rage to help funnel into my flame breath. I don't focus around rage at all. I just like to have a little bit so I can go into my flame breath for longer periods of time. Thing is, though, you don't really need to be in flame breath for a whole lot because you end up getting hit sometimes, so you need to pop out. So yeah, so that's something to consider when you're using flame breath. I like flame breath because it allows you to move around quite a bit, and it's different than oil barrage because you can still do that big damage, but not be so stationary. Devour is really nice to have because this is going to help also keep up your energy shield. When you're mapping, it's key almost. It's just kind of like a nice oh shit button to hit when you see your life and energy shield dip. We have this Zubakwa's pending. Don't really need this here. It's kind of messing around with it. It does, consume some corpses and make them explode. This ability is so weird to pull off. I don't really worry about it too much. But it's nice to have Holy Descent, Empowered Sparks, and Encroaching Ground. And that's just kind of what that is. It gives me a little bit of a healing bonus. Thunderstorm. Now, this is something I added on later in the game, but I really wish I started off earlier with it, because this gives me a nice ranged option. So the immediate weakness of this build is when things swarm you, and that happens a lot when you're doing breaches, delirium, so on and so forth. Sometimes you just need to kite enemies around. Well, Thunderstorm allows you to kite things a little bit, get those little blast shocks off. Those hits from the individual shocks will trigger the power charge from the chest piece, because they count as regular hits. They do critical, and they crit all the time because of the Oracle. So this lets me kind of like, if I need to poke things down a little bit and I can't get close with rending, Thunderstorm is really nice to have. We have Advancing Storm to move it through, Magnified Area, Abundance, because I like to throw a couple out there. Prolonged Duration is just nice to have out, and then Shock Conduction. We drench everything with this, so the shocks is really nice to spread. Wing Blast is something I've tossed around with kind of taking out because I don't use it a whole bunch. It almost doesn't feel like it's too useful to me anymore. It's not used to build power charges. It's nice to kind of give you like a little boost to push out of groups of enemies, but I'm finding that easier and easier to avoid anyways. So this might get replaced with something that I might experiment with, like maybe Tornado or something. I do have a lot of on-ground effects with this build, so that might be something to consider. Anyways, we're using Stun Support, Maim, Knockback, and Fan the Flames just to kind of spread the Ignite and keep enemies away and slowed. Unearth is one of the abilities when there's a bunch of corpses on the ground. We can just add more minions. Adding more minions gives me more damage because of a node on the passive tree. I don't think I went over, but it's there. They have Rapid Attacks 3. I don't think I meant to do the third one. I think I meant to do the second one, but anyways, Prolonged Duration, Meat Shield, Minion Master, and Maim. I kind of use these guys to slow anything that's around. They're really quick to cover the field. They're fast. They don't do a lot of damage, so I use them for utility more than anything else. And Raised Zombies is kind of a dual purpose. Fire Exposure, Infernal Legion 3, Minion Mastery, Minion Instability, Searing Flame. We're constantly summoning these things, so it's no problem if they explode. We want them to do as much Ignite damage and cover the screen as possible, so it's really nice to have these guys out there. Oil Barrage is another big DPS move. You've probably seen this already a lot of times, but this is how we clear off enemies out of the screen before they get to you. You have a bunch of minions up. They kind of run forward, meeting the enemies first, and you could just sit back and just kind of spray down into the screen. Great for narrow hallways. It's good if you have the setup for it, but you got to watch out. And that's why we keep Flame Breath on hand, because sometimes you need to move and still do damage. You can't do that with Oil Barrage, so unless you stun something. But yeah, so when you find the opportunity, Oil Barrage is really nice to throw in there because of the exposure, the extra lightning damage. We also have heightened charges, projectile acceleration, Burgian, whatever, support skills, while channeling, and rapid attacks to life leech. I do use this when I am still and things hit me. It's nice to get that little bit of life back. Now, the other minion we're using is the Bogfell Commoner. Again, it is slow and annoying to use, but it's the health that the Bog has that makes the Burning Infernal Legion skill gem, support gem work so well. When these guys get on an enemy, a boss, they just absolutely melt. And then when you combine that with the Oil Barrage and the Flame Breath, things just die really fast, and you don't need to invest a lot in damage when you have these combined. Last Gas, Minion Mastery, Elemental Armory, Searing Flame, we want to keep them up as long as possible. We are minimizing as much of that flame damage so they do stay up. And yeah, and last but not least, Elemental Weakness. We pop this in between to get as much Elemental Weakness damage as possible. So between the exposures and this, things are pretty weak all the time and debuffed. We have Spell Cascade, Heightened Curse, Efficiency, Hex Bloom, and Magnified Area. Spreading it for as little cost as possible. So yeah, that kind of covers the skill gems. And we covered the items a little bit in the passive tree. I'm going to go ahead and hop into some gameplay here. If that's it, then thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe, and H on out.